this will be challenging.
Come here, Betty. That's what
So, well, you already know
Yeah.
a sort of sense of, what I'm about. I think I originally came here sort of trying to learn about your life and your experiences and see what's possible in terms of understanding and starting off with a sort of somewhat typical view of the church from the outside. And that first year I was here, it was just so eye-opening to me to see folks.
Is that a good way or a bad way?
It was a very powerful way for me. It was good.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it's part of what kept me coming back, was just the sense of connection I had with some people and wanting to sort of explore that and delve into that and see if I could have that with other people here. And then at some point I started focusing, I don't know that I named it as like empathic listening at the beginning, but sort of focusing more on like my trying to develop empathy, like my understanding of where you're coming from emotionally or as people fully, and then trying to understand your own, like how you treat each other, how you relate to each other, how you relate to other people. That was sort of a theme at the very beginning, I guess. And then since then I've been trying to focus on like my students and helping them see who you are from best we can and best you can show us. And then it took me a while, but then I started writing about it. I started writing articles about it. I don't know if you heard about that. I sort of sometimes think everybody in the church knows everything else, but then that I'm not really sure who knows what. And you obviously have a lot of other things to focus on in life.
Yeah. The only thing I saw was when I think the Louis Theroux documentary went out. I saw your article.
Yeah.
Or thing where he basically didn't get us right, which shock.
Yeah. So that was part of my message, right?
But,
and
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's just, it's his stick. It's his, what's it called? That's what sells. View us as we're hateful, bigot monsters. And,
Yeah.
which, when somebody doesn't want to actually listen to words, yeah, it is very hateful. Because God's word is not meant for everyone. It's meant for a very small remnant.
And how did you feel about the article? What was your sense of the article? Do you remember?
I thought you were pretty fair on it. Just giving your opinion on it, not just saying, hey, this is what I feel like the real truth is. And so, I kind of liked it.
Yeah, so that's something I've been transitioning towards, is thinking of, I mean, partly I'm focused on you still, and I want to keep coming back and seeing where that will lead, but also trying to figure out how to talk to the broader world. So that's why I tend to focus on like what your lives have been like, what emotional experiences you had, and since I don't really know either one of you very well, and you grew up in different families, obviously since you're married.
how it works.
So that is how it works, right? Maybe talk, what was it like growing up in your families? What were some of the, most memorable experiences you have that you can share with us now? And you don't have to give your entire life history, but we have an hour together, I hope, or something like that. Maybe less now, I don't know.
Time is, I don't know.
So, so since, Catherine, I don't know anything about you really. Tell me a bit about what it was like growing up in your family and who they were. And do you want to also start with like introductions? Sorry, that was sort of.
I'm Sophia.
That was a miss.
I'm Alexa. I'm
Hillel.
Sorry.
Hillel Gray.
I'm Abigail.
I'm Mary Beth.
Yeah, I'm Catherine. Sela and Titus.
Jacob. I'm sorry.
So
And you-
we both grew up in the church.
Right.
I have multiple siblings that you've spent time with, I'm sure. Jennifer is and Isaac and Charles are my siblings.
Yeah, they haven't met Charles. Well, you've met Charles, but the others have not met Charles. Yeah.
And we have 3 siblings who aren't here because they chose that they don't want to serve the Lord.
Who are they?
Stop that. Their names are James, Michael, and David.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
And then
Oh, yeah.
my parents are Carl and Kay, who you probably haven't met either.
No.
But so
They're around. I don't know where they're at right now.
they're actually Charles.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was any kind of an out of the ordinary
Oh, I'm sorry.
childhood. Just had siblings and my parents, and was raised to that your duty in life is to serve the Lord, and we studied the scriptures and learned what they said from an early age, which is a focus that we have with our children. Probably not so much this one yet. He hears it, but doesn't process a whole lot. Of course, I've known Jacob since, well, I'm slightly older than him, so I guess all of his life. But, I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot of remarkable stories to share. You're a wiggle worm.
When you were in school, for instance, or kindergarten, whatever, did people know you in the church? Do you think your life in the school was any different than anybody else's?
Yeah, I mean, so we didn't start doing the picketing until I was 10. And so it was a pretty community-wide known thing. So yeah, it was pretty obvious. Everybody knew at that point. But even before then, there's a marked difference in the way we live our lives and the way that the children behave and what they do. Hey, why don't you go play in your room? You go get your toys? No. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
So we don't celebrate holidays. So I remember being in kindergarten and sitting out in the hallway during the Christmas party because the teacher didn't really know what to do with me, so she stuck me out in the hall by myself. And that's okay.
Do you remember what it felt like for you as a child?
I was pretty bored. That's about what I recall, sitting in the hall. But there were never any feelings that I wanted to participate. I mean, I understood from an early age that I didn't have any interest in partaking in those parties. I mean, you got Christmas and Valentine's and St. Patrick's Day. All of those are wrapped in religion, and those are contrary to our beliefs, and so I didn't have any interest in participating. It's done.
Okay.
Sorry, there's a timer on the tablet, and it shuts off. For good reason. So yeah, and it's the same thing with, I mean, our children aren't school age yet, but there's many children around here who are, and the other kids know, and the teachers know, that our children are taught to obey, and they're by and large pretty well behaved. I mean, they're toddlers, they have issues, as do any other children, but and they don't conduct themselves like a lot of the other children do, So that was the children, as it would be. You're gonna have some interesting background noise.
Yeah.
That's all right.
We had council noises when we were talking to Margie.
I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's
He's
entertaining.
Not quiet child.
So yeah, I mean, we went to the public schools here, like the kids do today, and we're markedly different. The way we conduct ourselves is different. So I didn't have a lot of school friends or running around with a bunch of other kids my age there. And I don't recall it ever being any kind of an issue. It was just that was life. You went to school, you came home, you tended to your business. And the Lord said that those who obey his commandments and serve him or his family. So that's what's important.
And the when the picketing started, what do you remember from that?
It wasn't pleasant at school. It just wasn't. The community had a very, very bad reaction to what we were doing. So, kids are mean.
Yeah,
And they're hearing it at home. I mean, they were kids.
Were they mean to you?
Oh, absolutely. But it's not any issue today. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
And kids were there were kids who got violent, and it wasn't just me. There, especially in those early years when we first started, there were multiple of those of us who were in school at the time. The environment in the city was very much that it was perfectly fine to try to stop us from standing on a sidewalk with some words on a sign with violence.
And what do you remember from how you were treated at school? Like, what's a episode you can describe for us?
Well, there were,
Choose one. I mean, yeah.
When I was in middle school in particular, it was, so it would have been 3-4 years probably into when we had started picketing. Just walk down the hall and kids are shoving you and hitting you and kicking you, and teachers turning a blind eye to it. It was pretty routine, and like I said, it wasn't just me, and it's, you report it, you tell your parents deal with it. And,
so you'd walk down the hall and you're sort of basically being beat up, and then how did you go report it?
I mean, I don't recall the details. You tell the teacher. It's been a few years.
So you tell the teacher.
Yeah,
would be sufficient.
Or, an administrator, something like that. And
yeah.
Did you have friends who that you knew around the time that y'all started picketing that you kind of noticed a shift in the dynamic of your friendship, where the picketing sort of changed their perception of you and their treatment of you reflected that?
not particularly any details of it, but yeah, certainly there were kids who you played with who don't want to play with you anymore. But yeah, it's that's 30 years ago almost, so it's been a little while.
Yeah.
Do you remember like your thoughts and feelings when you guys started picketing? Like, did you feel like you, because 10 is like a weird age, did you feel like you had a good grasp of what was actually happening and why your friends were treating you differently?
Yeah, I think I was plenty old enough that I understood what was going on. I don't know about you, but
I have no clue. Because I was, 7 at that time when we started? And, yeah. And I was a complete opposite type. I was just happy-go-lucky. I really made friends with practically everybody, and then, so,
and then what?
What's always funny is they hear my last name, and then they're like, oh, he's a Phelps, he's evil. And then they actually start getting to know me, and they're like, oh, you're actually pretty cool. I'm like, I know. But, just saying. Back when I was a kid, I thought that. Now I'm like, I'm too old to be cool anymore, so. But yeah, it's always interesting when they actually get to know us a little better, and it's like, oh, you're actually not that evil. And so, other words like that, so.
it's just like at work, you'll have people who hold you at arm's length because they hear your last name, and then once you have established yourself, you start working with them, and the relationships change. And
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a project manager. I manage IT projects.
My dad's going to graduate school for that.
Really?
Yeah, he loves it. I don't know. It seems
takes a special
intense
person.
to me.
Very much so. It's
Well, what does it take? I don't know anything about it.
it's just it's a lot of detail. It's a lot of working with all different types of people, because you're the middleman between the nerds doing the IT work and the people who have to use the system who don't know anything about computers. And so you're having to talk to both groups, work around with all of that, and then just corral everybody into making everything happen. So it's a lot of little pieces. it's not for everybody, but it works for me.
How long have you been doing that?
I'm close to 5 years.
Oh, so you feel you've really grown into it.
Yeah, I mean, I took a path of, I got put on a project at work. I was not doing IT related work because I was a subject matter expert in the area of the work I was doing, and it just kind of took off from there. Just kind of found my way into it. So it's a good job.
And it was a good fit, huh?
Yeah, it really.
What is it about you that makes it a good fit?
I'm very analytical and and it's just kind of like a big puzzle, and so I see all the little pieces, and it just, it's how my brain works. I can fit it all together usually, and I can work with people relatively well, at least enough to get out of them what we need for the project and what the people who are needing the software are needing out of it.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody says analytical, I don't always think of them as a people person.
That's why it's not for everybody, and I'm not saying that like I'm a huge people person, but I can work with people and I can talk to them, and I'm not like I'm not an extrovert by any means, but I work with people, and it's this, there's 150 or so people relatively that somewhat I run across with, and so most of them, at least the upper ones, and
Huh?
I'm not going to be the first one to jump up and do public speaking or try to rally a group, but it's just a balancing act.
Yeah. Huh.
Did you break the box?
Do you feel like you connect better with individuals then? Or do you think that's like a strength of yours?
I don't know. I really thought about that. Probably I do better in one-on-one or small group settings than a huge group, but I have to do both. Sometimes you just do what you have to do the job.
Yeah. Do you want to say a bit about what it was like for you growing up?
Sure. So like when we started, obviously I was about 7. Really, I guess I was too young to really understand what was going on. That we
No, I was saying, like, go even earlier.
Okay, so like.
And you grew up. Say more about your home.
It was just me and my mom because I'm actually adopted.
Yeah.
And so, which is kind of cool because that's what Jacob's taken from one place and put into another. That's one of the definitions for it, as well as supplanter.
I see. Yeah.
So that was kind of
interesting. Right.
But yeah, I mean, just growing up here my entire life, it's definitely an experience. I wish everybody could have that option. So going to school, it was, like she said, we had specific things that we never did. So like holidays, same thing, it just, I wasn't part of it. I don't ever remember sitting out in the hallway ever, but there'd be a lot of times where the teachers would try to slip in holiday, like Christmas stuff, with learning. And then I'm stuck going, well, I guess I'm supposed to do this. And so it didn't always work. We always tried to keep from it. I think the schools are better at it now.
Yeah,
just
probably.
because I think they're more diverse.
Just out of quick curiosity real quick, like, I know my mom's a teacher and she doesn't have like specific, like it's Valentine's Day or it's Christmas. She has like a winter party. Would you guys in class go to a winter party that was specifically meant not to be Christmas?
No, because at the root of it, it's still
Yeah.
the holidays that are celebrated in that time. And I mean, they'll try to do the same thing at work sometimes. It's not a Christmas party, it's a winter party. And no, I mean, I'm not going to partake in it because
But it's all the same decorations as
it really
Christmas.
is as a root. It's Christmas, it's Hanukkah, it's, you know, it's all of the things that are celebrated that year, which are all at a basis revolving around religious beliefs.
What about 4th of July? Does that feel the same way?
Well, I mean, the 4th of July it's still pagan, because one, this nation should have never achieved independence. It should have submitted itself into the hand of the king.
Okay.
Because if they're true Christians, they wouldn't have rebelled. And, you know, the whole little fact that God says, "Thou shalt not kill," it's kind of hard to have a war when you can't kill anybody. But that's just my thought. Unless you like have a bunch of chess matches and whoever wins that wins the war.
That's how we decide who gets Massachusetts or who gets,
Yeah.
who gets the colonies.
It'd be a better way of handling wars in the future, wouldn't it?
Mm.
I don't think that's ever going to take though. So, yeah, the whole Independence Day for this nation, it's another example of how far this nation has gone.
And-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Basically, it's still worshiping the military and look what we did versus the Lord protected you and gave you and got you from that nation. And instead of giving God the glory to it, they give man the glory. And just like when King Hezekiah was surrounded by a whole host of 100,000 troops that are ready to kill Israel, well, I guess Judah at the time, and the Lord saved them just with one angel, utterly destroyed an army overnight, just like that. And, you know, instead of just waiting upon the Lord and trusting in Him, this nation takes it upon themselves to do it. Just like today, and with all the other wars that goes on in this life.
I don't know if other people have questions. One thing that we haven't had a chance to talk to so many people about is how people end up getting together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you guys kind of like get together, like, and get married? Like, what was that process? Oh, but Dr. Gray would like Katherine.
I believe you've asked similar questions of Jacob in the past.
Yeah, so I want to compare. I want to see if it's all similar. From your perspective, how did it go? Oh, do you need a break?
No, he's okay. He just decided to scratch himself with my finger. Well, I firmly believe that the Lord puts impulses upon our hearts when there's, for anything in life, but when it comes to those matters, it's the Lord determines all of that, and I don't think that. Well, I guess I can't speak for Jacob, but I don't think there's any question that this was who the Lord decided I should be with, and we match. I mean, but Jacob came to me one day and said that he thought that he wanted to marry me, and we started talking, and
How did you feel when he first said that? Was it at all a surprise, or had you kind of had a feeling beforehand, or?
well, it was a surprise that he actually spoke up at that moment, but it wasn't like it was one-sided. So.
I mean, you already had an attraction for.
Well, you know.
What did you mean when you said it wasn't one-sided?
That I had similar thoughts of Jacob. I mean, I've known him for many years, and we've been friends for many years, and I didn't necessarily know that he thought the same thing, but
Had you like expressed to like other members of the church that?
No. I didn't think it was ever gonna happen, honestly. So I was shocked in that he came to me that day, but not shocked or like, no, it wasn't necessarily something that was it's like just in his mind or something, and I was just like, okay, sure. No.
So how did he do it?
My usual blunt way. Oh wait, sorry, she's supposed to
Yeah,
take
I'm
it.
here. She's gonna say it was very subtle and smooth.
Like he came knocking on my door and he just said it. So
Blurted it out.
That's Jacob.
Did you laugh?
I
How'd you respond?
don't think I laughed.
What did you do?
That
How'd
would've
you
been like-
no, but how'd you show your how'd you show your shock? I mean,
I think we just stood there and talked for a little bit.
Yeah.
at the doorway or whatever.
Yeah, it was at the doorway.
Really?
Yes. So.
Might have been like a foot away from the door, but yeah.
You were living with your parents at the time?
No, actually, I was living in Charles and Rachel's house. There's 2 apartments that
Oh,
are
you
part
were?
of it, and I was living in one of those.
Okay. So I'd love for them to just. I'd love for her to just describe the whole thing.
Yeah.
You're standing and talking. What are you talking about? What are people talking about when the guy comes up to you and says that?
I don't.
I don't really recall the details. Do you?
Sorry, this is a boring conversation because I don't remember things like that. So I'll remember just weird facts, but something important like actually asking her to marry me.
I mean,
I
it
don't
was-
remember.
It wasn't like he said it and we were married the next day kind of thing. I mean, it took we were talking for a while, and because a big piece of it is making sure that really is the right thing to do, and there was lots of not just conversation between us, but seeking counsel from other people, because that's one thing that the scriptures instruct us to do, not to take counsel with yourselves, and there's wisdom in multiple counselors, and above all prayer, because I certainly didn't want to enter into a lifelong commitment and have it be for improper reasons.
Can you?
Sorry.
Sorry, you can. You're great.
So how long was that process? Like from the time he like just showed up at your door to like when you got married?
So in our case, it was a little bit different than I would say probably the norm, but it was about 2.5 months actually between that day and the day we got married. So it was a little fast, I'll admit, but we were older,
Yeah.
and we had known each other our entire lives basically. So it wasn't like we just met.
Or young idiots in love.
Are there ever
Old idiots and love idiots.
Are there ever instances, you mentioned like having counsel from the other people in the church and whatever, are there ever instances where 2 people are like considering getting married and they decide not to after counsel? And what's that kind of process like for someone who's counseling another person?
I don't know if that's ever happened.
Well, I can think of one instance where there was conversation and then it didn't happen, but I don't think it was necessarily because of the counsel from other people. I think that the 2 individuals just decided that it wasn't what they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But so I've had people seek counsel for me, and I sought the counsel myself, and it's just a conversation, and looking at it from a scriptural context.
Mm-hmm.
And just, especially and for that instance, seeking counsel from people who are married in particular, who do have that life experience to just talk it through.
Do you remember any particular thing that struck with you at the time? That you don't have to say who said it if you don't want to.
Well, there was one particular instance where I was discussing it, and what was said to me was, ultimately what you need to think about is, do you feel that the 2 of you would serve the Lord better together as a unit, or if you do that better by yourself? And that is really what stuck with me. And at that point, I had been kind of pushing Jacob to move a lot slower, and that was the turning point. Of course, it wasn't a long time anyway. We're talking between, I think it was like 2 weeks between, if that, when he came to me and we were actually officially engaged.
Oh, you were engaged within 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you really sought counsel and.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely was the forefront thing on my mind at that point.
Come here, bud.
To talk to people and see and just get a good perspective on all of it, and make sure that I wasn't just trying to run into a thing because, you know, I wanted kids or anything, you know, reasons that weren't really a solid reason.
So did you have some of those feelings running in addition to the more solid ones? You know what I mean? Like, did you have desires that weren't the ones that, like wanting to have kids kind of thing?
You know, I think that it was always probably somewhat, you know, I have lots of nieces and nephews, lots of kids I'd interacted with, but it was never anything that was like some kind of driving desire that I want to be a mother.
Yeah.
I love my children dearly, so please don't take that as anything other than, but really, like I said, it came down to that moment was where it was very concrete to me that I really did feel that we would serve the Lord better together.
When you say prayer,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I really know how you pray, and it's maybe a personal, private thing. I don't know, but can you say, like, what does it mean to pray for guidance on this particular thing? I don't know if guidance was the word, but how did you pray for this particular thing?
Verbalize to the Lord. Well, first of all, prayer in general is based upon your thanksgiving to the Lord. I mean, I think that has to be a central point to all of it. And then asking the Lord to show me what I should do in this matter.
And are you saying this out loud?
Yeah.
And are you alone? Are you with other people?
It could be either or. In this instance, it was myself seeking the Lord. I don't recall necessarily seeking anyone out and praying with them. I might have. And I know that we started praying together very early on. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be verbalized. I mean, it could be an internal prayer, but
could it be? Would you be like in a private room, or you'd be walking, or?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
just trying
anywhere,
to trying to
yeah.
understand it.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Basically, it's just your thoughts to God and going to basically a king and where he has all power and you're going to him asking for help.
Mama. Dada. Dada gave you the phone.
I usually don't give him my phone, so.
He's bragging.